very good morning to everyone in the hall. Honorable Union Minister Hardeep Puri ji, Secretary Housing and Urban Affairs Manoj Joshi ji, His Excellency Harve Dalfan, Ambassador of the European Delegation to India, European Union to India, my colleague in the Ministry, Rupa Mishra, Liz, who leads AFD in India, and Rukmini, who's the Deputy Country Director of KFW. Of course, Debulina Kundu, who's now in charge of NIUA. Friends and colleagues from SPVs and state governments across the country, representatives of AFD and KFW, all partner organizations who are present here, colleagues, and also especially friends from the media. I welcome you all to the launch event for the CITIIS 2 challenge. Just to set a background, CITIIS 1 has been a co-program of the Smart Cities mission over the last 4 years. From 2019 to 2023, there have been 3 components of the program which have been implemented in various parts of the country. Currently, 12 projects which were competitively selected under CITIIS 1 in 4 different areas of work are either almost complete or would be completed in the next 3 to 4 months. And these are diverse projects. One of the reasons why CITIIS was conceived was to enable process innovations while we took on bigger and more complex projects under the Smart Cities mission and other missions of MoHUA. To carry forward this sandbox approach from CITIIS 1 to CITIIS 2, today we're launching the CITIIS 2, the second version of CITIIS. And I would like to mention here in the very beginning, CITIIS 1, we had 2 partners. Of course, NIUA and MoHUA were championing the program across the country. But we should mention AFD, who came in with a 100 million euro loan, and the European Union, which actually supported with a 6 million euro grant. And now in the second version, which is going to be focused on 3 components again, the European Union, of course, has doubled its grant from 6 million to 12 million. AFD and KFW now joins AFD, and together they are contributing 100 million euros each, which is 200 million euros of loan. The focus of the 3 components, first component is for selection of 18 cities across the country, 18 SPVs, on projects promoting circular economy in the area of integrated waste management. Now these SPVs will be selected from at least 1 SPV from each region of the country, the 6 regions, north, east, south, north, east, west, south, 4, central, and the northeastern region. So there is a regional equity built into the selection process. Today's plan, in fact, I wouldn't take much time because we will delve into the details of component 1, 2, and 3 during the day. As part of the plan today, after the session, the first session, the inaugural session, where we will have Honorable Minister launching the challenge. After that session, we have an open house on CITIIS 2. So there will be a lot of interaction on what is CITIIS 2 and what was CITIIS 1 about. So you want that to be an interactive session. And then we will have focus sessions. First session on the first component of CITIIS 2 to understand what will go into the process. What is it that is allowed? What is it that is not allowed? What is it that good application should contain, etc., etc. And that will be led by the ministry team, both by the Swachh Bharat team as well as the Smart Cities team and the team at NIUA. Followed by that, we will have an interactive session on component 2 and 3. And if all of you are not planning to stay through the day, you will be at a loss. So I would request you to be there till the end, because the last session is the most critical session, which will essentially disclose the tricks of the trade as to how the application that you write can be made successful. So what should go into it? How should it be written? The entire application is available online. So if you have any questions about anything you're not understanding, that will be the session where you'll raise it. I will stop here. We look forward to interactive participation from all of you. I am, at the end, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Honorable Minister, our Secretary, His Excellency Ambassador, and all the dignitaries on the dais, and all of you who have come from various parts of the country to come for this program and make it a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for graciously setting the context of the program. I request everybody in the audience to please keep their phones on the silent mode. Thank you. Now, please allow me to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Hervé Dolphon, Ambassador of the European Union to India, to the podium and share his thoughts with us.
Honorable Minister, Shri Hardeep Puri, Secretary Joshi, John Secretary Kumar, distinguished CEOs of Indian smart cities, and my European colleagues, Mrs. Lisbroy, Country Director of French AFD, colleagues from the German KfW and EU member states in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste from the EU. On behalf of the European Union, it is my great pleasure to be with you today at the CITIIS 2 Challenge launch, along with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, the Team Europe, and as well as NIUA, which plays a central role in cities. How appropriate that one of the flagship projects of EU-India cooperation is called CITIIS, supporting the development of Indian smart cities. Just think of it. India has been home to some of the oldest urban civilizations in the world and contributed greatly to human and urban development. And today, India has become the most populous country in the world, and it is also home to one of the fastest rural to urban transition in human history. By 2050, the number of people living in urban centers in India will double to reach 900 million. This means an increase equivalent to the entire population of the European Union. This is a staggering challenge. A staggering challenge for you, representative of Indian municipal corporations, a challenge in the provision of sustainable and quality public infrastructures and services. The first phase of the CITIIS project, we started in 2018, was an accelerator of change and adaptation for 12 smart cities across India. It supported a broad range of innovative action, from creating green open spaces, promoting electric mobility and non-motorized corridors, upgrading municipal schools with latest ACTs infrastructures, just to name a few. And this first phase will come to completion next year. But today, we meet to kickstart CITIIS Phase 2. And CITIIS 2, Phase 2, is doubling down in every respect. It's twice bigger in terms of financing committing by the EU member states' financing institutions. As mentioned by John Secretary, it's 200 million euros in loans, and twice bigger in terms of the technical assistance grant provided by the European Union. It's also almost doubled in the numbers of cities involved. And we will double down in terms of the focus, with the focus on urbanization, sustainable urbanization and waste management. And this is true to the spirit of mindful and deliberate utilization instead of wasteful consumption, as Prime Minister Modi described the LIFE mission. This is true to the spirit of Swachh Bharat and the Clean India and Circular Economy missions. So the focus is clear. And Team Europe, the EU together with the member states, is fully committed to accompany India and support your ministry, Honorable Minister, in addressing the challenge of waste management with CITIIS 2.20. Large-scale urbanization will indeed test infrastructures and services with respect to basic water supply, wastewater treatment, and solid waste management. It is estimated that the solid waste in Indian cities will almost triple in the volume by 2030. The combined effect of urbanization and economic development will also change consumption patterns. Left unchecked, plastic production alone could increase by 40% in the next 10 years. So if we don't do anything about the plastic soup, oceans could also become the place where all this plastic will move and represent a volume by weight bigger than by the volume of fish in oceans. And think also about batteries, construction, textile, e-waste, medical and organic waste, which represent acute challenges. Honorable Minister, dear guests, problems have solutions. Challenges can be turned into opportunities. CITIIS 2.0 aims to provide Indian smart city with both the financial means and an integrated waste management approach that will act on the supply side, on the demand side, on infrastructures and on policies. Speaking from the own EU experience, we have come a long way to recognize the challenge of waste management and to act upon it. Now we are well on track to reach our 90% reduction in biodegradable municipal waste between 1995 and 2040, to reduce landfill waste to 10% of total municipal waste, and to recycle 60% of this total municipal waste by 2035. It's a huge challenge for us. It's also a huge challenge here. But we have learned that we can do more with less, that economic growth and developing a thriving middle class can be achieved with less intensive use of resources. This proves the point that low carbon, circular economy approaches can create significant economic values while avoiding adverse health and environmental impact. This is what smart growth and smart cities are all about. CITIIS 1 is just one building block of a wider EU-India partnership that seeks to advance the green transition and sustainable development. The Ministries of Water, Environment, Forest and Climate and the EU have also entered a formal partnerships on water resource efficiency and circular economy. And this will complement and inform the synergies between CITIIS 2.0 and relevant Indian missions through the sharing of experience among all actors. Acknowledging the huge investment gap as part of the EU's global gateway strategy and the European Union Green Deal, we have been working with our member states and the institutional finance institution, as well as the international ones, like the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank, to narrow the development and investment gap and facilitate the uptake of high-quality projects. And the EU alone, since 2021, as Team Europe, Member States and the EU, we have collectively invested around 4 billion euros in the sector of the urban sector, 2/3 of it in the metros and 1/3 of it in urban projects like cities. Under the EU-India Trade and Technology Council, the TTC, which is a unique instrument, and only India and the US have this specific relation with the EU. Both sides aim under the Track 2 to increase research effort and market uptake of joint technological innovation that can allow affordable wastewater management or recycling of waste like batteries for e-vehicles inter alia. As part of the Mitigation Action Facility project on waste solution for a circular economy, Germany and the EU have also provided debt guarantees to entrepreneurs in 4 cities and 1 state. And I want to thank the Ministers of Housing and Urban Affairs for your support in this project. And we have other examples of such cooperation. And new opportunities are coming. For example, the EU-funded Accelerating Climate Smart and Inclusive Infrastructure Program for private sector's investment, including in the municipal infrastructures, with a particular focus on waste management. My simple message today, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ministry, to the NIUA, to the municipalities, is that during the city's implementation, just tap into all these resources. All these Team Europe initiatives and resources are here to support your effort in an integrated matters. Connect the dots and make the best of the synergies that can be built. EU and India are working together to create cities of tomorrow, greener, cleaner, diverse, inclusive, more livable and attractive. This is smart cities for smart Indian urbanites. Cities 2.0 is a centerpiece, an iconic centerpiece of this wider approach. And you can count on the EU to stand by the side of India and of these cities to make a bright future and a successful engagement in building the cities of tomorrow. So I wish you all a successful engagement in this Cities 2.0 launch event. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insightful remarks with us. It is now my honor to invite Shri Manoj Joshi, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, to please come to the podium and enrich us with his wealth of experience and insights.
Honorable Minister, Excellency, EU Ambassador to India, my colleagues from Ministry, NIUA, European Union, AFD, KFW, friends. The Cities 2.0 project highlights 4 or 5 areas which are very important to us, Government of India, and the trend which we are observing in different areas. First is our increasing partnership with Europe, with EU, with France, with Germany, our increasing borrowings for metro projects, cities, our increasing cooperation with European companies in manufacturing, in metro, in their participation in terms of technology, in waste management, and other areas. That's the first area. The second trend which we are increasingly seeing in our work, in Government of India work, is a saturation approach, that when we pick up an area or a project, we would like to complete it. And out of, say, 10 projects, if you are doing 5 and leaving out 5, the approach, yeah, sometimes you do it because you don't have enough funds. But the approach is to do a saturation. So in Cities 2.0 program, we are picking up 18 cities. And in those 18 cities, we would like to do complete work on solid waste management so that we can say when you go to Indore or Surat and all, those Navi Mumbai, those cities where you see on the work on solid waste management, you feel that, yeah, whatever was required at this stage to be done has been done. So the same approach we would like to follow in these 18 cities in terms of solid waste management. Third area of increasing importance to us is various aspects of climate change. The waste management and used water management is an important part of that. But more important, I think, which is becoming a concern for everyone in the country on climate change, be it high AQI in our cities or this increasing phenomena of concentrated rain in few days, leading to flooding in the cities. That we are seeing in city after city. So the Cities Project 2.0 project focuses on that cities, when they prepare their whatever master plan they have, they need to work on drainage management, flood management, in preparing a proper plan. And because the adjustment or requires funds in large extent, so we pool funds from different areas, but we plan properly as to if there is a concentrated rain, what are we going to do to prevent flooding in the cities. We have seen it in Chennai, we have seen it in Delhi this year, seen it in Bangalore, we have seen it in Ahmedabad. Large number of cities are seeing it. So our increasing focus on climate-related work is also coming in this Cities 2.0. That is a very, very important work for us. Other approach which our ministry has been following in various schemes, and Honorable Prime Minister keeps emphasizing on this, is to bring a challenge approach, that we have 4,900 cities in the country, 100 smart cities, but we are selecting 18 out of that. So give them an opportunity to prepare and present their case as to why that city should be selected, so that only as a pilot, we pick up cities which are most prepared, and that becomes an example for others. So sometimes it itself becomes a challenge where you have large funds, you want to cover large number of cities, and you throw a challenge method and you realize that not everyone is coming up with the challenge. So you have to really push them. But here, since out of 100 cities, we are picking up only 18, so challenge should be easier. We would do hand-holding with the cities in this challenge mode. We would support them fully, and we are advancing whatever literature we had circulated. We are advancing the date to 15th January. The cities should give their proposals to us, so that by February we can select the cities and announce it. And they are obviously, in 2 months' time, they have to prepare the proposal. They have been working on solid waste management for last few years, so we will provide full hand-holding so that by 15th January we get the proposals, and by February we can announce which are the cities selected. Again, thank EU and AFD and KFW in supporting us in this project. We look forward to continued working with them. Our fund appetite from all sources is pretty large, particularly in transit area. So we will continue to work with them. So transit and climate change, and participation of European companies in all climate-related aspects, be it solid waste management or used water management, and different areas. We look forward to participation of European companies in India. Yeah, in metros, the largest manufacturers are from Europe, and we look forward to the same in solid waste and used water management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for adding a distinguished perspective to our gathering. Moving ahead, the moment we all have been waiting for, I request Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs, to kindly launch the CITIIS 2.0 challenge process and the application portal. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a privilege to have amongst us a leader whose vision and commitment have been instrumental in shaping urban India. Without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs, as we eagerly anticipate the insightful and inspiring words that are about to be unfolded.
My colleagues in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Secretary Manoj Joshi ji, Ambassador Dalphon, the Country Director of AFD India, the Deputy Country Director KFW, the Director of NIUA, representatives from AFD and KFW, partner organizations, colleagues from SPVs and friends. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the launch of the CITIIS 2.0 challenge. I want to start by thanking our partners, especially those who have invested in this. My colleague Kunal Kumarji was doing some context setting, but I think he was doing some context setting within the framework of the CITIIS 2.0 challenge in terms of what this entails. My colleague, the Secretary, provided a larger canvas to the context setting when he mentioned that we have 4,900 notified urban local bodies or cities. But if you were to look at the aggregate picture, then we should also add another 5,000 additional entities which have not been notified, but which the state governments have to initiate in terms of notification. And that is what adds up to the urban population. The ambassador mentioned a figure of 900 million of an urban population. I don't know what date he had in mind, but I must say I was even a little surprised. I asked the secretary, he said, well, these are all projections, but I agree with him that when you do or when you engage in discussions on the urban scene in India, then that perspective becomes extremely important. In 1947, when we became an independent country after 190 years of colonial domination, we had an urban population of about 17%. That 17% on an overall base of 350 million gives you an idea of what kind of a figure we had. The last census we had was in 2011. Another census is due in another year or so. I think we are currently looking at an urban population which might be about 35%. That is the working figure that I use for purposes of rough estimation. But 35% on a total population of 1.4 billion or thereabouts gives you an idea of the enormity of the challenge that we have. The ambassador was very kind just now. He told me that India is getting a lot of attention. I agree with that, but what I want to add to that is I think we are getting a lot of attention for the right reasons, because there is a flurry of economic activity here. I am not giving statistics to boost the domestic perceptions. I think it's well known. I was in Berlin and Vienna just a few days ago, and no matter which way you look at India today, there is a certain buzz. On the way here, I thought I would be accosted by distinguished members of the Fourth Estate who would ask me about urbanization, but most of the cameramen had an interest in knowing what my views were on the World Cup final on Sunday. Now, that also is understandable. But I think coming back to the India story first, and then I want to come to the smart cities and the incubation of this challenge. I think what I find remarkable is that a project which at the time of inception, I'm talking about June 2015, when it was conceptualized. Actually, it was conceptualized earlier. When we were writing the manifesto for the party before the 2014 election, it had been inserted there. But it had been inserted in terms of 2014 May, we said we will build 100 new smart cities. Clearly, none of us who had anything to do with the drafting of the manifesto had any idea of what a smart city was. It was just a bright idea which was put in. And when we started implementing it, we discovered that we were not the only ones without knowing much about it. There weren't too many theaters in the world where this kind of a challenge of smartification of cities had been attempted. You had to deal with existing cities, and in our case, our cities are historical, culturally, Varanasi is a 1,000-year-old city which we are converting into a smart city. You had to deal with other things, and we had to deal with greenfield projects. So I think we got that first one right. Out of the 100 smart city projects, 10 are greenfield, and the other 19 involve area-based development, and they involve doing something there. I had to face a lot of cynicism when I joined the Council of Ministers. This was in September of 2017. My own colleagues would ask me very often, a year or two or three after that, where are the smart cities? The question was as if a smart city was something from the world of science fiction which would drop from there. Yeah, good. Some of the greenfield cities could do that. Kunal, some of your integrated command and control centers actually look like that. If you go, there's huge screens, technology being used to monitor this thing. But I am delighted that that cynicism is not there now. The cynicism is not there because today you can document, you can demonstrate that this is what you've done. You've done a total number of projects. I'm not going to go through my notes because how many projects worth how much value. Today we are looking at something a little different. We are looking at how, thanks to our collaboration with our partners, we are bringing in resources limited, but this is all demonstration. And I've always maintained that there's never a limitation on resources. What you need is good bankable projects. And if you can show that, in this case, in the circular economy, 1,500 crores, 2,000 crores may by itself, when you're dealing with the urban space in India, not be too impressive a figure. I'll be very clinical because the provisioning for our SBM, Rupa's project, and Amrut 2.0 is what, 4,71,000 crores? So if you compare 4,71,000 crores, but this is important. This is important because this money is going in a targeted manner into dealing with certain specific projects, and the kind of method that we are adopting. By the way, Secretary had mentioned that we are going to bring the challenge last date forward to mid-January. So that little film that you saw about applications by 20th February, that's not correct. We changed that. One, I see tremendous enthusiasm and support for these innovative technology-based interventions which are being envisaged. I also see that enthusiasm is in itself predicated on the fact that through CITIIS 1, you were able to introduce 1,000 new electric vehicles, 100 kilometers of non-motorized transport corridors, 750 acres of green open spaces, 1,400 affordable housing units, 350 educational facilities. The picture I'm trying to paint is that this is yet another, but one of many separate initiatives which the central government's schemes are launching. Within my ministry itself, if you look at what we have done in terms of affordable housing, if you look at the lighthouse projects, where you had a global challenge to shortlist whatever green technologies that were available in the world, you shortlisted 53. From there, you built 6 lighthouse projects, 1,000 units within 1 year. And you're using technology now in every field. So even though the task appears daunting, because 100 smart cities, but here is where my confidence comes back. The success of these 100 smart cities, and I think that, some are lagging behind. I keep writing letters to the chief ministers. I'm not going to do name calling, but by and large, most of them are on target. And they are on target because today I think those of our colleagues, and many of them are here, I want to compliment them. Those who are heading the special purpose vehicles, those who are doing this, and they're working in the context of the state governments, all of them accept the need to get cracking on these projects, and they're doing very well. In the case of the next round challenge, I'm sure that what we have done, somebody mentioned that the cabinet approval, actually, by the way, the cabinet approval also took a little time. And let me explain why. Because I think the focus there was on something very limited, that if you have such a big challenge and you have resources which are not limitless and which have to be targeted, instead of doing it on a large number of things, do it in a calibrated manner so that the effect is absolutely delivered on your desired. So that is when the decision, and I think I'm very happy that after a lot of deliberations, we decided finally that it would take this shape. Secretary was mentioning waste management and climate change as the biggest challenges facing rapidly urbanizing India. He went on to also talk about urban flooding, urban, other issues. So I always say in a lighter mode that we don't have any shortage of challenges. But what we do have is a solution which is taking shape. Those of us who live in Delhi these days have a favorite talking point. I'm very happy politically that is directed at someone else. But I can tell you, as part of my responsibility in the other ministry, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, we actually have a very ambitious scheme. We already have a second-generation ethanol plant, manufacturing facility in Panipat, where we make ethanol from agricultural waste, parali. And we are multiplying that many times over, including compressed biogas plants, etc. But what we need to clearly understand is that this transforming India, the India which is moving or is going to move very shortly from the 5th largest economy to being among the top 3 economies, and that's a given, because if you look at the economic activity here, I've just come back from discussions with OPEC. Our energy consumption, and energy consumption is always a good indicator of how the economy is doing, is 3 times the global average. And that energy consumption, and this is the better news, there is a very conscious attempt to move to cleaner fuels, green fuels. Our biofuels mixing was 1.4% or thereabouts in 2014. Now with a growing consumption, we are already blending 12%. We had a target of 20% blending by 2030. We brought that forward to 2025. We are already retailing E20 or ethanol 20% in more than 6,000 retailing stations in the country. So we are moving very fast on that. Our green hydrogen story is also going. That brings us back to the urban space. What can this kind of a challenge, when carried out, I think, Kunal, to start with, it has a demonstrative effect. If you are able to demonstrate this, you clearly also lay the basis for a commercialization of the technology. Because I have always believed that at the end of the day, apart from the state, and a state like the kind we have in India today, this kind of activity will not come from philanthropists. You have to make these projects economically viable. And that is why, but the state has to do that, and the state is doing it very well. I mean, the kind of provisioning, the kind of attention that the urban space gets. I'm very happy that this focus on the circular economy and Cities 2.0 is aligned with the Swachh Bharat mission. I'm particularly happy for the simple reason that today we have already set up, I'm told, 112 biomethanation plants, 2,391 waste to compost plants, 55 waste to energy plants, 2,281 material recovery facilities, 972 construction and demolition waste management plants, and 335 solid and liquid resource management plants. Now, numerically, we are proceeding ahead, but I need to have this discussion with, I think, Secretary and Rupa, that what we still need to do is to integrate this more deeply and make sure that the gaps here need also to be covered. Amrut 2.0 has made a transformational progress in making our cities water secure. SBM 2.0 will make our cities garbage free and remediate all legacy waste in the country. I say this often enough, but I don't have any hesitation in saying it again. In 2014, when the Honorable Prime Minister assumed responsibility, I think the amount of waste that we were generating, and it wasn't much less than we are generating now, the amount being reprocessed at that point of time was about 14%, 15%, thereabouts. Today we are reprocessing 76%. But I think that journey from 76% to 100%, and that journey to ensure that in future we don't make those same mistakes, these require commitment, not only at the political level, on that there is enough. They require dedication by our professionals. On that also I don't see any shortage. But they require all this to become something which is more than a project of the government. It has to be a Jan Andolan, as the Swachhta Andolan has become. On that also I have no doubt. And I'm very happy that today we are looking at the problem. I'm sorry my context setting has been much larger and a little more diffused. But I think we are today well on the way to converting our urban space, and our cities already, I think, contribute to what, 65% of our GDP? I see that going up in the coming period. But I think these collaborative arrangements between the center and the state governments, between our government and foreign collaborative partners, the European Union and the other individual partners, I think is something which has to be welcomed, and I personally welcome it. And I'm sure in the coming period, when we see the implementation of this CITIIS 2.0, I would like to see it implemented, if not within the first quarter of next year, but certainly not later. Thank you very much.
Sir, please accept our sincere gratitude for gracing this occasion with your presence and for taking the time to deliver the keynote address today. We thank you again. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries who have honored us with their notable presence and shared their valuable perspectives. As we take a brief pause for tea, we extend our appreciation to each one of you for making this event more enriching. Please enjoy this intermission. We will reconvene in 15 minutes for the technical sessions, subsequently beginning with the open house on CITIIS 2.0, chaired by Shri